Tonight we're going to begin with a view from the Arab world. And joining us for that is Ghassan Shabani, an assistant professor of Middle East and International Studies at Marymount Manhattan College here in New York. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
The perception, I suppose, the way I ought to frame this, is it seems that we have not heard much from Arab nations when it comes to sanctions against Iran. Is that inaccurate?
It is not accurate. The Egyptians and the Saudis will be more than happy to see some sanctions imposed on Iran. Today in their newspapers, major newspapers like the Egyptian Al-Ahram and the Saudi Uqad, both wrote about the subject, and both are in agreement with the with certain Western measures to impose harsher sanctions on the Iranian regime, but they are a little bit afraid of a military strike at this stage because they feel that it may not get us where we want to be.
Is it safe to say that Arab nations do not want to see a nuclear-armed Iran? And if so, why not?
I would say that on this point, the Arabs are split. The Syrians and the Libyans may not mind it or would like to see it. The Saudis and the entire Gulf, the Egyptians, the Yemenis, and the Jordanians would like not to see a nuclear Iran because it will change the balance of power. And there is also another element, and that is the religious element in the Arab world. Most of those countries that I have counted in the Arab Gulf have a lot of Shiites among them. Iraq, for example, 65%, Saudi Arabia 35%, Yemen 90%. What if those Shiites, after Iran acquires a nuclear bomb, says, come please and protect us, come please and give us more human rights? Maybe we will see an intention by them to secede from those countries.
So this would be very worrying to Saudi Arabia or other countries that have this large Shia population.
All of those countries are in fear at the rise of Iran because of the Shiite minority or majority in their countries.
Well, what influence do these Arab nations, if any, have over Iran?
I would say, aside from Syria, very little whatsoever. Why is Syria? Syria is also ruled now by a Shiite minority, the Alawites, and also the Syrians, because of their relation with Hezbollah. Iran would like to maintain a good relationship with Hezbollah, and the only key to that is Syria. So Syrian-Iranian relationship are the closest in the Arab world. Besides that, none of the Arab countries is willing to give Iran the cover or the leeway that it would like to see in the Middle East.
Well, let's talk about Syria. Do you think that if the United States asked, that Syria would somehow try to use its influence with Iran?
I think the price will be the Golan Heights and Sheba Farm. If the Americans and the West would pressure Israel to sign a peace agreement with Syria, then we will see the Syrians more willing to use their leverage with the Iranians on the nuclear weapon and also on Hezbollah.
All of this seems to go back to the question of whether Israel may or may not have nuclear weapons. And that is an issue for much of the Arab world as they face the prospect of Iran with a nuclear weapon, right?
Yes, indeed. I believe this ought to be looked at from two layers. The first layer is the Arab people or the Arab street. The Arab street is very angered by some of the statements that their governments really use or utter because they are not talking about an Israeli nuclear bomb. However, they are talking about a potential Iranian nuclear bomb. Whereas when it comes to imposing sanctions on Israel or asking Israel to open its facilities for inspections, we don't see the Arabs are willing to ask the West to be as harsh or as critical or as open on that demand as they are on Iran.
Ghassan Shabani, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.